Today we are going to work on moving from vertex form to standard form to a graph to a table. So we're going to start to get very fluid with understanding quadratic functions. We're going to start off with this one, problem number 80. This first part might seem frustrating to you or like an inefficient way to do the problem, and that's okay. Let's check it out. The first part says rewrite the equation in standard form and use the zero product property to find the x-intercepts and the vertex. Some of you may remember that this is vertex form already. I get it. Let's just look at what would happen because we're supposed to sketch this parabola without making any tables. So if I start off and I need to write this in standard form, I need to rewrite my x plus 1 twice because it says x plus 1 squared minus 16. And then I need to multiply those two binomials together. And I could use a box or I could FOIL. Plus x plus 1 minus 16. And then to simplify that out, I would get x squared plus 2x minus 15. So there's my standard form. Then it says use the zero product property to find the x-intercepts. So when I find my zero product property, I have to remember to do that in factored form because I set the factor is equal to 0. So if I think of two numbers that multiply to a negative 15 and add to a positive 2. I'm thinking 5 and 3 multiply to a positive 15, but they have to add to a positive 2, so that's going to give me a negative 3. My factors then must be x plus 5, x minus 3. That's my factored form. So using the zero product property, we have to set both of the factors equal to 0. By the way, this would be a y equals. So zero product property, let's just do that one. 0 equals one of my factors. And I'm not snoring, that's my dog. If you can hear it, I don't know if you can. I'm wide awake, feeling great. Love it. We're on how many weeks of quarantine is this? It's a lot. But we're doing good, everybody. We have our mandatory Zoom meeting today. It's going to be awesome. So here it says use my zero product property to find my x-intercepts. So those are going to be the 2 points, negative 5, 0, because if it's an x-intercept, the y has to be 0, and 3, 0. The last part asks us to find our vertex. If you remember, the equation for your vertex is, what color should I use? Okay, vertex, the x value of your vertex is equal to the negative b term over 2a. When you're in your standard form, remember that your a is the coefficient on your first term. So my a term would be 1, and my b term for this would be 2. If I plug those into the equation, negative 2 over 2 times 1. If I plug that in, that's a negative 1. So that's my x value of my vertex. Then I have to plug that bad boy back in. Ooh, this is such a waste of time because we're giving it in standard form. But we're practicing this method mostly just to prove how inefficient it is to do it this way. So the y value of my vertex is 1 minus 2 minus 15. That's going to give me a negative 16. So my vertex is -1, -16. I plug that in. My x-intercepts, we said were, what color should we use? Orange? Sure. My x-intercepts are -5, 0, and +3, 0. And my vertex is -1, -16. So it says, now use a different method for the same information. So we have to find the x-intercepts by evaluating this for y equals 0. Okay, I can do that. So x-intercepts again are when y equals 0. So 0 equals x plus 1 squared minus 16. Love this. If I want x by itself, I add 16 to both sides. And I get 16 equals x plus 1 squared. If you remember, either 4 squared is 16, but also -4 squared is 16. So when I do a square root on both sides of this equation, that's when I have to add in that plus or minus. Plus or minus square root of x. Okay, that might confuse you. So if I do the square root there, I'm just going to leave this inside part. That's my dog. I think she's eating him. Hey, Willet, it's okay. All right. Hi. Okay, so the two answers for that. So now this equation goes into two different forms. Either the answer happens when the square root of 16 is positive. So either it's a 4 equals x plus 1, or -4 equals x plus 1. So when I subtract, I get a 3 equals x here. And when I subtract, I get x equals -5. Oh, that sounds familiar. Those are my two x-intercepts. And hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And then sorry, it's early for her. And then my vertex, I can get that straight from the form. So remember, your vertex, your x value, you have to switch that sign for your x and then leave the -16 as is, and there's my vertex. So that's me getting the same information. My x-intercepts here, I could do that when I set equal to 0, or I could put it in standard form and then factor it and set it equal to 0. And then also, I could either get the vertex straight from the equation, or I could put it into standard form, use the vertex formula, and do it that way. Yuck! I hope you learned the lesson that this vertex form is going to get me information quickly. I don't have to put it into the other forms to get that information if not needed. So, that is that. That's your first video.